Hey there, welcome to episode 172 of Fresh Air at 5. This episode is called Anticipation of Learning. And so I've called it that for a number of reasons. As you go through this episode, you will hear things about artificial intelligence. You'll hear things about self-care for yourself. You'll hear things about trends in education and the future of where we are going. One of the highlights for me was an episode with Chris Jones as he talks about anticipation and moving towards our goals. So, without further ado, anticipation of learning.
Hi, this is Krista Lay.
And I'm Craig Aarons-Martin.
We are the co-hosts of the SEL in EDU podcast.
Proud member of the Education Podcast Network.
Each show on the network is independently owned, and the views expressed may not represent those of other podcasts.
For the best education podcast, visit edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Brian Carpenter, coming to you every week from Abbotsford, which is about 45 minutes east of Vancouver, British Columbia, on the west coast of Canada. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to get some fresh air by walking about my neighborhood, which is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Stolo people, the Simath First Nation and Mathwee First Nation. I consume podcast content while I walk, then reflect on this content in an unedited video, which I post on my X, formerly known as Twitter, channel every day. This podcast is the collection of the audio taken from those daily selfie videos over the course of a week, Monday to Friday. So let's jump into my listening and learning this past week. PLN, welcome to episode 272 of Fresh Air at 5. It's the beginning of the first segment. It's Tuesday morning, and yesterday I woke up to driving rain. It was coming down so hard. This isn't where I sleep, but I woke up at home, and this is my classroom here at school. I didn't walk yesterday. We'd been out all weekend camping, and so I didn't walk. But this morning, I'm in school early. It was still raining, and also it was my daughter's 16th birthday, so our youngest turned 16 today, and so I'm pretty excited about that. Took her to Denny's for her free breakfast, Starbucks to get her free drink, and then took her to school. And so we got other celebrations going on for her later, but I just want to say happy birthday, sweetie. I love you, and that's so fantastic. All right, this morning I got into my classroom early to do some prep stuff and things here, and I listened to the House of EdTech episode 246, reading it backwards in my screen. 246, The Harms of Generative AI with Tom Mullaney, as Chris Nesi talks to Tom Mullaney, who is on the lesser than positive and pro side of artificial intelligence. In my classroom, we've been working on artificial intelligence with my students, and they have learned about what AI is, what generative AI is a little bit, and we have used common sense education content to deliver that to them. And yes. So Tom, in this episode, talks with Chris about some of the harms of generative AI and artificial intelligence and bias and non-consensual data set and the things that go along with that. Now, I saw this. I went, okay, Chris, you're taking a step into an area that might not be happy because you and Tom, I bet, see differently. And like you guys talked about in there, we can have a discourse, we can have a conversation about things that are not what we might agree with, but we need to be learners. And Tom, I really appreciate what you said at the very end, is that we need to keep our eyes wide open. We need to be learners. We need to teach our students how to be learners so that they can be educated and make a difference in their learning. That's all I got. Thanks. Bye. Hey, PLN, June 5, 2024, out for Fresh Air at 5 this morning. and our downpour, torrential rains has disappeared, and we're in for a nice week long of nice warm weather, which we should, because we're in June now. So thankful for the change in the weather and the fact that, we did get water. All the earth got watered around here. And so we've got water for growing and all those things. All right. This morning I listened to Seeing the Lead, episode 72 of season 3 with Dr. Chris Jones. And he has on guest David Espindola, who talks about his newest book called Soulful, You and Your Future with Artificial Intelligence, and talks about how we need to approach technology change as opposed to, being afraid of technology change because we don't understand it. We need to look at it. We need to walk into it. We need to be here and eyes open, walking in and being lifelong learners in this age of AI. Yesterday, I listened to Tom Mullaney talk about the harms of generative AI as he talks with Chris Nesi on House of Ed Tech. And out of that conversation too, I heard it said that we need to be learners. We need to be taking in and being exposed to what is possible. Do we have our students do that immediately? No, we as educators need to do that immediately, right away. And that's going to be part of my summer work. It's been going on already, but I'm going to dig into David's book that I just ordered. So thank you, David. As I'm walking, Amazon, boom, it's in my bookshelf. So I'm going to start reading that this summer. All right, Chris, take care of yourself and take a listen to this episode. They talk about decentralizing credentialing and centralizing resources for sharing with students, because we can now get to things all around the world. Okay, turn it around, going for coffee. Bye-bye. APLN later on the same day of June 5, 2024. I'm out listening to Evolving with Gratitude, and I don't know the episode number, but it is about digital health and navigating our digital well-being, coping and thriving strategies. What can we do to make a difference for ourselves and things like that. So Lainey brings us this episode. I'm out mowing my lawn at 5 o'clock p.m. So it's fresher at 5 p.m. with a little, lawnmower exhaust going on. So it's not super fresh, but we're cleaning up the yard. We've had a lot of rain recently, so this is going on. All right, take a listen to this. I encourage you to listen because, how we use our mobile devices, our phones, what do we use them for? How do we engage with them every day? And what do they do to distract us? Is important for us to be mindful of. Turning off notifications, putting your phone away at night. That's a practice that I have found it helps really a lot for as I get to sleep, that I can actually sleep. I don't have notifications going on beside me. All right. Thanks, Lainey. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. And I encourage you to listen to this episode. I'm going to go get the episode number and put it in here. It's episode 105 of Evolving with Gratitude, about digital well-being, navigating, coping, and thriving online. So it's called Digital Harmony. So that's so important. All right. Thanks, Lainey. Take care, all. Bye. Hey, PLN June 6, 2024. Out for fresh air at 5 in the afternoon. I slept in this morning. Man, I must have been tired. But here I am now. Great day at school. Had presentations from students. We made t-shirts on the cricket for my yearbook editors. And yearbooks even arrived. We'll be distributing those next week. So excited about that. And yeah, things are coming to a close. Sort of. There's other things that are still rushing along pretty fast, but they'll be coming to a close soon. All right. This afternoon, I listened to Fuel the Optimism on Teaching Champions podcast with Brian Martin. And hey, Brian, thanks so much for your encouraging words, dude. It makes a difference because we have to be reminded about the good, the things that we need to focus on instead of all the negative things. The episode is called Fuel Your Optimism. And how do you do that? You gave us 3 strategies. 1, was to hunt the good every day. Hunt the good, seek the good in whatever we are doing. Even if it's hard, seek it. Look for the good so that you can celebrate the wins, small victories that you've had. A number of those today. So I'm in good shape there. The other is, second thing is, talk to yourself like you would talk to a friend. The advice and self-talk that we do can be rough and brutal. And we need to be mindful that we should talk to ourselves like we would talk to a friend, because we are kinder to our friends and then we would say things to ourselves. So the advice you would give yourself if you were your friend, be your own friend. All right, there's that. And then the final thing is intentional acts of kindness. You know, how do we care for people around us? Hello? And what would we do? You know, how would we do things for other people? Being intentional instead of random and it's just happening upon them. Seek them out and do things for people so that it's intentional. Yeah, not random. All right, Brian Martin, fantastic. Encouraged I am. And it's not even summer vacation yet. Peace. Bye. One more thing for June 6, 2024. Listening to the Easy Ed Tech podcast with Dr. Monica Burns. I listened, and this episode is called What's New in the second edition of EdTech Essentials. And Monica, thank you for sharing your new book that I just saw is available on Amazon, and I'm considering buying it soon. I will take a look at your website as well for information about it that you share in this podcast. But in here you talk about generate and evaluate as two new essentials that were not in the first edition. Also, you've got a different focus. You're focusing on artificial intelligence that wasn't in the first book in 2021 because that was not in the forefront of our mind. It was more distance learning at that time. So people, I encourage you to take a listen to this podcast that Monica has, episode 270 of the the Easy Ed Tech podcast, and listen to what she has to say. Thanks so much, Monica, for sharing, and I hope that my sharing here on the podcast of Fresh Air at 5 will gather some attention as well for your new book. All right, appreciate that. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. One more thing for June 6, 2024. Seeing the Lead, Season 3, Episode 73 with Dr. Chris Jones has him bring us a Seeing the Lead short. Don't know if you're calling those that anymore, Chris, but it's a short episode. And in this episode, you challenge us about anticipation and the hesitation to step towards a goal. And as we work towards a destination, how we explode things and make it harder and bigger than it needs to be. You talk about as we practice the process of one step and then another step and so on, we see that we can get to our goals that seem like it's easier, but it doesn't get easier, we get better. I like that. That's really good. That's really encouraging because, you know, anticipation can be a debilitating thing because we get hesitant, we get freaked out, we get overwhelmed with all the things that could happen and outcomes that it could be, as opposed to stepping forward in faith towards our goals to reach our goals. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. I have some anticipation right now. One of those things I like to anticipate is actually going fishing. And it just seems like, well, you know, I get so excited about going fishing. I enjoy the process. I have to, you know, about the anticipation, enjoy the anticipation. That's part of the journey. You know, if we just got to our goals without the struggle to get to our goals, would we appreciate our goals? Okay, that's, you know, I've been talking to my students about effort, and in the age of AI, one of my students said, yeah, you know, the whole AI art thing, you know, people don't put any effort into that, as opposed to real artists, they actually put effort into that, and it makes it more valuable. And I said to them, you know, is there anything that you do that is of value that didn't take effort? And they all thought about it, and they're like, probably not, you know, effort's necessary. All right, with that, I'm gonna keep on taking one step in front of the other here as I'm walking, reaching my goal of getting home and not walking, but it's good. Thanks, bye. Last thing for June 6, 2024, wrapping up Fresh Air at 5 walk today. It's a beautiful day, nice out, probably in the mid-20s here and super nice, enjoying the sunshine because we've had a lot of rain in the month of May. Hopefully June is nice now. All right, I listened to a bonus episode of Teach Happier with Suzanne Daly, and it came out 4 days ago on June 6th or something like that. No, that was today. But anyhow, here in June, it's a bonus episode, and she talks about what's your 7.4. And I'm like, interesting. What does that mean? And she went on to talk about how she was looking at making a list in 2024 about 24 and 24 things that she would aim at accomplishing, having measurable goals that she could say, hey, I've done that, and being able to write those things down to have them in front to keep driving and moving towards something. Well, her 7.4 has to do about 74 days of summer break between teachers getting out and teachers going back in, and breaking that down not to 74 things but to 7.4. So taking 1/10 of those and having something measurable for your summer. We need to rest in the stillness of the days of summer, but we also need to not let them float away and be not productive maybe. Me, I'm on the productive side. I like to get things done. So I have a unofficial list in my head of things I could do, but she talks about 7.4 things that she's aiming at. Take a listen. It's encouraging and something I should get at. As I move into the summer, I'm still a better part of probably 22 days out from summer starting actually for me, but this is where we will be at soon. All right, talk to you soon. Have a fabulous day, and I sure will as well. Amen. Bye. Hey PLN, it's Friday, June 7, 2024. Beautiful morning this morning, plus 12 to 13 degrees Celsius. Out walking in a t-shirt and enjoying my neighborhood. Love it. So awesome. The sun is coming up behind me, and I started before the sun rose this morning, so I did get out of bed early. All right, this morning I turned on Truth for Teachers with Angela Watson, episode 302, as Angela brings us predictions, trends, and the hope for the future of teaching. She brings us a perspective that she says is an American perspective because the data that she has is American data, and the work she does is in the United States. So thank you, Angela, for sharing. There's a number of listeners that I have that are American, so this will be important to them to take a look and listen to what you have to say on episode 302 of Truth for Teachers. All right, in Canada, we have a thing called the teacher vacancy shortage as well. So we have, issues with staffing. I see it in our district. I see, uncertified teachers on call that are, they have a bachelor's degree, but they don't have a teaching certificate, and they are coming in to care for classes, do everything but mark and credential. So yes, they are there. They're teachers on call, uncertified. That's one way of solving that problem. Interesting to hear how there's such diversity amongst vacancies in one school and opportunities in the next school that are different for right next door to each other, between the independents and the public schools that you talked about, Angela, in some states and counties. There's some good messages here that we should listen to as Canadians because we're not too far away. How do we care for teachers? That's a big thing. If we can care for teachers, teaching will be okay because teachers will want to teach and we will have our kids be educated well. All right. Lots going on in my head. Lots in this episode. Take a listen for yourself. Thanks. Bye. I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's like a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find some other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific episode podcast titles and episode numbers in the show notes, which are only a click or swipe away for your learning convenience. I've also started to put together a Spotify playlist of each of the episodes so that you can also take a listen to those specifically, and the link to that playlist is in the show notes. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoy this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. You can also follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Brian Carr, BRYONCAR, or at Fresh Air at 5. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can be found on the Educational Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. I hope you have a fantastic day. Get some fresh air before the day is out and take care of yourself because you are worth it.